The battle for the mind of North America will be fought in the video arena.
Yes, you can move in the middle of COVID. We did, and actually it's probably the best time to move because there's no one on the road. So it worked very well. We lived downtown for the first 3 months, and it was perfect for me to learn how to drive downtown because there was nobody out to honk at me when I maybe tried to go down a wrong way, right, down a one-way. So I learned to drive downtown Calgary and felt really good going downtown Calgary to drive. We lived down there for a while. Yes, I come from Southeast Sask, and it was during that move and during COVID, everything going on, that I needed a place to put my energy, and just really by the grace of God that I found Action4Canada. And for me, it just really struck home the fact that the leader, the lady who started Action4Canada, is a woman of God and of a deep, deep faith. And so that was really important to me when choosing a group to belong to. And so I got involved. And there's so many different areas, as you know, so many different areas to tackle. It can just feel so overwhelming about which area to focus on. And I'm sure you're probably like myself, sometimes you feel like information overload, right? So with Action4Canada, we said, you know what, we just need to pick an area and just focus on that area. So there are ladies working in the area of SOGI and dealing with that, and we've made great inroads with the government of Alberta as well, which we're so pleased about. And so this area always was of interest to me because of what BJ shared, because yes, my family has worked in the oil and gas industry in Southeast Saskatchewan for 50 years. And every good thing that we've experienced in life comes from that industry. And I know for a fact that we are heads above any even safety concerns in regard to even compared to the United States. And I know that for a fact. So it was really important to me just to start focusing on this. And so it was the green agenda. I started paying attention to that. So I'll take you through my journey with what I've discovered along the way. So I'm so blessed by the tech people that I have here. And from what I understand, actually I don't see them back there right now, but I'm just supposed to say next slide, and the next slide will come up, but I don't see them. If anybody knows where our tech fellow is at the back, I'll continue because I have the slide in front of me. So my purpose, and I have it written out on the slide, but is to empower you as a citizen of Calgary to speak and share confidently with others how the city is making decisions based on partnerships with multiple global entities. So one of the troubles that we have with getting people to come out and be a part of our group, and particularly in this area, is that they'll say, it's just such a big topic. I don't know what to say about it. I have this feeling, right? Something's not quite right. But when it comes time to speak, I'm not sure what to say. And so that's what we found with our people, was that they wanted to be empowered to speak. So I thought, well, you know what? If our people are having trouble, then there might be others out there too. And so that's why I'm here this evening. So what we'll do is go through just a very brief history. So that'll be our next slide. A lot of people will be familiar with a lot of these words, these names that they've seen before. So I will also add that I put together 4 hours of information on our Action4Canada Rumble page. So what I tried to do tonight is just minimize it. And if you want more in-depth information, because what I'll do in those videos is I'll actually take you on a little journey and I'll say, okay, let's go to the website. Let's click, click, click. And I'll show you where you can find the information. So I didn't do that tonight, but I took more screenshots. But those videos are there and you can go and check it out. They're one's 1 hour, then there's a couple half hours, and then there's another hour video there. The great thing about video is you can stop, pause, right, take a screen, grab whatever you need, so it's there, and that was a purpose. That's why we put it on our Rumble page, so that we can empower the people and help them to take action. So as I've been speaking, you have probably read through here. ICLEI is a big one, which occurred depends where you look, 1990, 1992. So remember that word, because we'll come back to talk about ICLEI. And on the next slide, 2015, that was a big, big year for many reasons. That Paris Agreement occurred. Trudeau came to power, right? There's a lot of things that happened in 2015. SDG goals, Sustainable Development Goals, that's a big one, United Nations. And anytime you see anything that says 1.5 degrees, that comes from the Paris Agreement. So when you see that on our city council, in our green agendas, that's what they're talking about, that's what they're following. So anytime you see 1.5, you just know right away, without even having to dig much further, actually. So we'll go to the next slide. So this was a big thing within our group too, in Action4Canada, is the smart cities. And I'm quite certain everybody's familiar with the smart city term now. And so in 2017, the federal government actually came up with a contest, and lots of cities applied. You can see what they wanted to do, bold, ambitious ideas to improve the lives of residents using data. Very important one, data there, technologies. It was modeled after Singapore. They're considered the gold standard. Lots of municipalities applied, lots of money awarded, and these were some of the initial winners. And I'll talk to you how I found out some of this information. The federal program is currently on hold. COVID happened and sort of put some things on hold, but there were some other things that happened during that time. But other smart cities have popped up through different funding initiatives. So not just based on that initial contest set out by the federal government. And if we slip over to the next slide, you may be familiar with this lady. So I follow her, and it was through her she sent out a video talking about smart cities. And so I listened to what she had to say. She works federally. And this was one of the big things, that in order for technology to be smart, it needs data. And the greater the data collected, the greater the risk to privacy. And that's a quote from her video. And so next slide, these are just some screenshots myself. I just grabbed them, the one on the bottom right. It's no secret, right, that the City of Edmonton is a smart city. It's not a secret, it's not hidden. It's been out in the news. City Council talks about it all the time. Here it is in the news in the Western Standard. So that was just a screen grab. Next slide here. So one of the things that Leslie Lewis spoke about, and you may have heard of this, it's called Sidewalk Labs Initiative. And so this was a very in-depth initiative that was planned for out in Toronto, along the waterfront there. And you can see who the partner was, Alphabet, which is the parent company of Google. So they were a part of that. And it was canceled for many, many reasons, but the majority of the reason there was because of privacy. So next slide. So this lady here, and again, I just went and grabbed a screen grab. So this lady was a former privacy commissioner, and she was on the board. And in fact, she was very, very concerned about their plans. And she didn't feel that the plan had gone far enough to protect individual safety. And so that project was put on hold. And if we go to the next slide, you can search this up. I did. I just did a quick search. And CSIS actually did talk about smart cities and their smart city platforms and the dangers there. And so they say that smart city devices collect massive amounts of personal data, including biometric data and other information highlighting personal life choices and patterns. Hostile state actors are currently exploring various means of attaining access to future smart city platforms, including through access provided by state-owned or state-linked technology companies. And you may be aware, maybe not, but the City of Calgary has been using smart technology for a long, long time. A long, long time. So we'll get into that too. And so just another little screen grab there. Canadian municipalities may willingly agree to technological partnerships, which they have, which I'll show you, with foreign companies that allow hostile or undemocratic states access to collect the data. So a big concern, and it's been happening in Calgary for quite some time, which we'll get to. So next slide. So that's just some, sort of just a broad overview. But if we look at Calgary, look who's really friendly here. In 2018, the City of Calgary actually did apply to be a smart city. So they entered into that challenge. And next slide. And of course, we know, I had to throw this in just because, that Mayor Nenshi was a young global leader, and so was Trudeau. And so was Chrystia Freeland. So they're all part of that global cabal. And we know that Gondek also was on council, right, under Nenshi. So if we move to the next slide, this is another little something I thought I'd throw in there. That there's a document, and my friends, I'm guessing that I'm already speaking to the converted here, but there's so many rabbit holes to go down, isn't there? I actually had to say to myself, okay, enough. It's a good thing that this is happening tonight because I just have to stop what I put in here because there's just so much. So there's a document called Resilient Calgary, and what caught my attention when I went and took a peek at it, and I went and circled a few things, I highlighted a few things, but one of them there was, the action item was they wanted to explore guaranteed universal basic income options. The City of Calgary wanted to explore that very socialist topic there. And then there's actually an appendix that they have within this document where it's not hidden, they talk about the United Nations and the Sustainable Development Goals. Maybe we'll click to the next slide because that shows it there. So this was taken right from that document, which is not a new document, it's been around for a long time. And so these are the goals, and it's showing how those goals align with their document that they've created, and there are so many of them. So just a little quick grab for you there. Next slide. So just a grab here too about all the different municipalities, cities that applied to Infrastructure Canada to win the money for smart cities. And next slide. So You can find this on the City of Calgary's website. Actually, can I get you to go back one? There should be one before this, if you can. There we go. So thank you. So this was part of their application. They were applying for $50 million, and this was their statement, that what they wanted the city to do and to become. So thank you. We'll move to the next one then that we were just on. So you can go onto the website as well, and you can find this. And I made it bigger, but Calgary didn't win. So although Calgary's submission was not selected as a finalist, the Smart Cities team will continue to work with our community and pursue collaborative ways to achieve outcomes aimed at making a positive impact for all Calgarians and to deliver on some of that proposed projects. So they didn't win, but that didn't stop them from moving forward. So Mayor Gondek, she, as we know, was sworn in October of 2021, and it didn't take long, right, to declare the climate emergency. Complete slap in the face of all our people working in that so important oil gas industry. And what's no surprise, because she is a woman of the world, you know. So the next slide, she belongs to a few different groups. If we can go to the next slide, she belongs to, you might have seen this one, Vice President now of the World Energy City Partnerships, which might sound good until you dig into what it is, right? It's not about promoting anything that Calgary is about, right? It's all about promoting green energy, green, safe energy. And there's more coming up. So next slide. So if you have not officially seen the declaration, it is actually in the very back of the 2050 document, the climate agenda document. So it is in there. So you can go, it's like in the appendix area. So you can go check it out, read what it says. So for myself, it was really, really important because I think you probably feel the same way as me, is that we can easily be called, right, the tin hat theory, you know, conspiracy theory people. Easily. I think probably most of us have been in this room. So it was really important for me to be able to go out and speak about this and say, here's the receipts right here, right? We want to show with evidence what's going on. So anything tonight, I followed the trail that they've left. So I enlarged, so it is small, so I enlarged some of the important parts there, and I know everybody is reading through. But they do say right in this document that international initiatives that they would be following, such as the Global Covenant of Mayors, the Resilient Cities Network, and Race to Zero, which we'll get into that really, really quickly, just briefly about what these are. You can go on, again, Action4Canada, find the Rumble videos, and see a little bit more in depth. We'll go to the next slide. So this is just the tail end of the declaration. And then at the bottom of the declaration, they actually do give the references from within the declaration itself. So again, I just followed some of those links that they have there. And so one of them is the climateemergencydeclaration.org. So we'll look at that, and we'll look at the Race to Zero, Global Covenant of Mayors, just really quickly. So next slide. And so you can go on. You can find this really easily. And they're very proud that they have over almost 2,500 different jurisdictions who've declared a climate emergency. And if you just search around, click around a little bit, you find that this group here, they're located in Australia. So again, nothing locally, right? All the way in Australia, that the city thought it was important to follow the lead of Australia and what they have to say. And again, there's a lot of language there that makes you think the world's ending tomorrow, right? And Mayor Gondek has used this wartime measures needed as well. I believe it was, in regard to the water situation, things like that, right? So again, you can go on and check that out. Next slide. And so this one here is our Resilient Cities Network. So again, you can go on, you can find it. So I did a screen grab and let you know there when Calgary joined in 2019. And this Resilient Cities Network actually was started by the Rockefeller Foundation. So if anybody has gone down those rabbit holes before, that not a whole lot good has come out of that in regard to, freedoms. So that's, again, you can go on and check it out. So that network was mentioned in the declaration. And our next one here, this is the Race to Zero. So the Race to Zero, also mentioned in the declaration, this is a United Nations initiative. And again, this was launched in 2021. So interesting how it, all is really close to when Gondek became mayor. So let's go up to the next one. So again, this one can take you down a lot of rabbit holes as well. But again, you could read through what they're all about. Again, it's all about the 1.5 degrees, not getting above that. Anything United Nations is, there's some maybe good things initially, but I think, more and more now it's questionable, right? So I'll leave it at that. So again, not wanting to get above the 1.5 degrees. If you notice at the bottom, there's a C also, and then there's a little HTTP. Oh, sorry, my back's to you. Could you go to the next slide, please? Perfect, there we go. So again, just a screen grab, we talk about what they're all about, and then there's a little link. You can go and check out some more information in those blue letters there, which I will show you. And next slide. So again, about Race to Zero. They talk about it, and I did a screen grab here because it's really important to notice who the sponsors are of this. So ICLEI is in there. Some of you, I'm sure, are very familiar with ICLEI. We'll talk about that. But I also want you to notice C40 Cities is there as well. They're a sponsor. And we'll talk a little bit about that coming up. So next slide. So if we go and check out that climate action portal, perfect, that was just mentioned in the blue previously, you can go on to their portal and you can check out everything there. You can filter, you can find the cities. So I could find Edmonton, I could find Calgary, I could click, and I did a screen grab to look and see. The climate action plans are there. Whenever you see the words mitigation plan, adaptation plan, that's all related to the requirements for the city to be a part of declaring an emergency. You need to put in a plan. We need to know what the Calgary's up to. So anytime you see those words, anything 1.5, mitigation, adaptation, that's all comes from global entities. So this is actually, it's a little scary how impressive this website is. And if anybody is interested, I show this in the video as well, I can actually go on and you can filter it by businesses. So you can see which businesses within Alberta have also signed on to this as well. And there's a lot. There's a lot. So that's definitely a good one to check out. So next slide. So in regard to the C40 cities, C40 is a big one. People talk about that one a lot. Doing some research on that, Calgary is not listed. Vancouver, Toronto, Montreal are. It's just a little tidbit there. But if you remember, next slide please. If you remember that C40s was a sponsor of some of the things that Calgary is a part of. We have a video on our Action4Canada Rumble, on our website. And there's a great lady there who she's done a deep dive into C40 cities. And C40 cities is it's very scary actually. And I just grabbed some of the most nefarious items here, and I just wanted to show you that these are their ambitious goals. They have some goals in one column, but then the next column is their ambitious goals. And it actually says this: no meat or dairy consumption. That's what they would like for people. And only 3 new pieces of clothing a year. That's it. 0 private vehicles. That's what they think is required in order to quell the emergency. And yes, 1 flight of less than 1,500 kilometers every 3 years. It is draconian, it is nefarious, and we've done a deep dive. You can find that on our website. Next slide. So the Global Covenant of Mayors. So again, here I've only followed the trail, you know, the breadcrumbs that were left from that climate declaration. So there, Global Covenant of Mayors, joined in 22. Lots of cities are a part of that. And you can see again that it's all about following the Paris Climate Agreement. It's very urgent. Next slide. And again, down that rabbit hole, so I did a screen grab. So who are the advisors for this? Mayor Bloomberg is an advisor. And you can see that ICLEI is also a sponsor up there as well. And again, it's all about dealing with the climate emergency. Next slide. And again, I go through this just a little more in depth, but I wanted to just point out a few things. So I just highlighted them here or underlined them. Data collection, it's a part of it. If you sign on to do this, you're agreeing, so the City of Calgary is agreeing to share the data. So what's the data? The data is the greenhouse gas emissions. And it's all there. You can go on, I'll show you that too, and see when was the last time that they shared what the emissions were. So it's all there. So it's in order to be a part of this, you are agreeing to collect this data. And again, it's all about carbon neutral. Next slide. And again, so mitigation, adaptation, all there. Following the United Nations Paris Agreement, the SDG goals. We need to be reviewed and monitored, and agree to make the data publicly available to the Global Covenant. So it's all there. So if somebody says to you that, oh no, that's tin hat conspiracy theory, say no, we follow the trail. Like the breadcrumbs were left and we just followed what they gave us. So it's there. Next slide. So ICLEI is here. Maggie Braun has been doing some excellent work in regard to ICLEI. So at one time it was called the International Council for Local Environmental Initiatives. They changed the name in 2003 and they took out international. I'm probably getting some bad press over that maybe. So now it's local governments for sustainability. There's a cost to be a part of this group, and you can see it on their website there. I'm sure it's gone up over the years, but yeah, so now it's almost $8,500 Canadian a year to be part of that. So I won't go into too much about this. Maggie Braun has been doing some excellent work with this, but essentially what ICLEI is in a nutshell, they localize the SDG goals. So the United Nations goals, ICLEI comes in and they localize it so that that work can get done at the local level. And ICLEI's been around for a long time. And the next slide there, within ICLEI, on their website, you can go and check this out, and this was a big concern for Maggie Braun as well, is that there's a group called Partners for Climate Protection, PCP, and there's certain milestones to be reached in regard to your emissions. And so there's certain steps that you have to go through, and you can see them there. You're creating the inventory. Well, how's the inventory figured out, right? It's through that data. And setting the targets. So Calgary's done that, 2030 targets, 2050 targets. As you can see, the rest of the steps there. And Calgary reached that milestone 5, which is what you want to reach, and they did in 2021. So it's all there for you. Next slide. So when it comes to the climate plan, the focus really, this is what we call, it's almost like a multi-headed hydra dealing with anything United Nations, because they're very vague in what they require. And so that's why this is so very difficult to create a united front against it, because every jurisdiction, municipality, city, town, they're going to present and do it in a different way. So it's not like there's just a textbook and we're like, oh, this is what they're doing, and so we can all just band together. You really have to study what's happening. So each town, city, municipality has to get into that document. And that's why it's hard, because who has time? It's almost 100 pages, this climate document, right? So who has time or interest sometimes to do that? Any rate, the theme number 11 from the SDG goals is the big one that the cities look at. And as you can see, these are the topics that I've sort of summarized there. They don't want urban sprawl, so the city can't expand, but it can go up, right? Which is what we're seeing, right, with densification. Increase public transportation. That's how they're going to reduce the emissions. So reduce internal combustion engines, ICE vehicles, right? And that's all part of the plan, which I'll show you here. So once you see it, you can't unsee it, actually. So if you get into that document, and I do go into on the website, I'll do that, and I'll click and I'll show you where to go and where to find some of this information. So next slide there. Okay, so if you haven't seen it, this is the Calgary Climate Strategy, Pathways to 2050. And it came out in June of 22. And I question the timing on it a little bit, right? Because we only had the declaration in November, right? In 21, and now they're all of a sudden out with this 100-page document. So they're working on it for a long time. 100% they were. No doubt about it. And I've seen lately there's been some disagreements on that price tag. And I've read a couple news articles about it, and I know one of our councillors, Mr. McLean, he was saying and talking about the price tag with this. And other councillors were saying, that's misinformation, that's disinformation. We don't have a budget of that much money to put into this. It's just not, it's not there. We're not saying that that's what it's going to cost us. So it's semantics. So really what they're saying is, it's not going to cost the city that, but combined with other people who are going to put money in, all across government, different industry, different businesses, different organizations, and they do say that in the document, they're going to help to put the money in. This is what it's going to cost, but they're going to put the money in too. So there's a little bit back and forth on council now about that, where Mr. McLean was being told he's doing disinformation, misinformation. So look at it how you want, no matter what. You know, if you're putting different organizations, maybe industry, putting it towards this, I mean, it's still money not going to something else, right? So it's still adding up to this much. So I thought I'd just touch base, because that was a relatively new article that came out. So running through this as quick as I can, just some of the things. Right on their page 10, talks about the Carbon Disclosure Project. So they're actually disclosing information to many different entities. And so they say right within the document that they have been disclosing since 2014 to this organization. So it's right there. And you can actually go and check out that Carbon Disclosure Project there. And we'll just click on to the next one, watching our time here. So this is the Carbon Disclosure Project. And again, in the video, I go through and we click, and I show you what they've been disclosing how long they've been disclosing, where to go and find that. And if you notice, I don't have a pointer, but in the blue words, they talk about ICLEI up there as well. The data is reported by cities through the CDP ICLEI track. And so you can click, and that's kind of where you need to go. But again, it's all in the video if you'd like to check that out. Next slide. So on page 4 of their document, they talk about Calgary needing to address our fair share of global emissions. And I just highlighted the mitigation plan, adaptation plan. It's our collective health that they want to address by this. And then their goals are there as well. So on the next slide, I just wanted to remind us all about what our share of global emissions are, really. And I would like to give a shout out to Friends of Science Society, wonderful organization. If you don't follow them, please do. They've been working for over 20 years, talking about the green scam. So please go check them out. I'll talk about them briefly at the end. Yeah, so our share is pretty small for that huge amount. Just green policies, really virtue signaling for those who want to be part of the global elites club. Next slide. So in their table of contents, again, I just circled a few things. They got the mitigation plan, they got the adaptation plan there. And as I was going through this document, I was really hoping that I'd see something that said, Calgary, smart city, Calgary, something, and I'd be like, aha, there it is, see, there it is right there. And I went through the document, like, okay, it doesn't say anything here about being a smart city. So what I did, if we go to the next slide, ooh, is it there? Can you touch the space bar and see if it'll come up? Whoa, nice, okay, awesome. I was trying something there and it actually worked. So if you can actually take PDF documents and you can search up words. Okay, how many times does this word appear in this document? So we did that. So smart city didn't appear once. And you can see all the others that I thought, I just threw it out. Okay, when does this appear? When does this appear? How many times? Okay. And if you hit the space bar again, maybe we'll get another list. There we go. So then we started to see some higher numbers. And then I said, you know what? I don't know that they're using smart city, as the key to achieving their goals. So as I went through the document, if we go to the next slide, I think it's their green agenda that they're using. We know Edmonton is a smart city. It's out there in plain sight. But it appears that they're using their green agenda to achieve many of the same ends. And they are implementing those SDG goals. And we'll take a look at that. So, as I was going through this, there are some other things happening in the city as well. If you go to the next slide. So the housing strategy, that was going on, and that had to do with rezoning. And I'm pretty sure we all went and took part in all of that, right? Going and speaking at City Council, right? Going to the open house, and talking about the rezoning plan. So at the same time that was happening, I'm going to go to the next slide, please. Right within their housing plan, they say that their housing strategy, that it is part of their other plans. And you can see all the names of those plans. But the climate strategy came up. And so right here within this document, they said that it aligns with the zero carbon neighborhoods within the document. So it's right in there. So it's, again, not hidden. And you could probably go to all those other documents, which we haven't gone down that rabbit hole yet on all of them. So, all right, well, I'm going to focus in on that one. So if we go to the next slide, the document is daunting because it's over 100, it's almost 100 pages. So it's very daunting. Who has the time to get into that, right? We all lead busy lives. That's what we're doing. We're out working. We're working hard, right? Not paying attention to this stuff, thinking that our leaders have our back, right? So I'll just explain it to you a little bit so that if you go and look at it, you're feeling a little more comfortable. So they divide it up into themes on the mitigation side. So that's the mitigation plan. And the red arrow there shows the zero carbon neighborhoods. And I would love to go through every single one of these themes with you, but I thought I'll zero in on the zero carbon neighborhoods because they talked about it specifically in the housing plan. So if we go to the next slide, if you want to get a screen grab of this, just so you have it, but I have it on our video as well. The strategies, or pardon me, the themes are broken up this way. And next slide. Sorry. Again, here are the rest of the themes. And I'll get into them a little bit more for the next slide. So the way they have it laid out here, they've got it color-coded really nicely for you, so you can see just how much money it's going to cost, right? And so they tell you short-term, medium-term, long-term to accomplish these specific items they want to do and where it is, what stage it's in. So if we go to the next slide, just real quickly, see how it's color-coded so nicely. So just to point out to you, if it's sort of a purple, I don't have my pointer to show you, the purple arrow, if you go down below, you see purple wording. So it corresponds. And if you look to the right, you can see where it is in the progress. In progress, in development, approximate dollar value that they put on that topic. And next slide. And again, the color coding is there. So they make it really easy to see, for you to see just how much money they want to spend on each of these topics. Okay, so next slide. But if we focus in on the zero carbon neighborhoods, these are their different pathways. They want zero emission vehicles. We're going to talk about that. They want to do a mode shift, again, to the zero emissions modes. And isn't it interesting? Focus land use planning to prioritize a zero city design. Isn't that interesting? Being that we are right in the middle of the rezoning topic, right? And next slide. You know what, tonight I really wanted us to go in and to look a little bit closer at what our document had to say in regard to the zero city emissions. So just the way we have things set up tonight, I don't think I can get into my PDF to show you that exactly. But I'm just going to, let's see here. Can we go to the next slide? Well, actually, just hang on here. One of the things that they talk about within that document itself is that they want for there to be zero emissions area within the city. So what does that mean? Well, if we look at and go on to the sustainable goals, 2026 to 2035, they're calling that the decade of sustainable transport. So people are kind of unaware that within this document that, and I actually wanted to go to our pages tonight, so I don't know if we're going to be able to do that. We didn't talk about that earlier with regard to the PDF, because I have that actually on my computer. So anyways, the city would like us to do, as a part of that zero emissions, is that they would like us to have an area where we don't zero emissions transport, so that people don't drive into that area of the city. So it's actually right within their document, and I show that in our video as well. And so there's no way that we can bring up our PDF, probably, right? Because it's on my computer. Yeah, right. So it's on page 35 is where we would start of that. Nonetheless, we'll continue on here because I really wanted to show you those items, but I see our time, we're getting there. But let's just go to the next slide then. So when the city says that they would like to have, and it says right within this zero carbon neighborhoods, they would like people to drive less. Perhaps we need to consider looking at charging people for driving into different parts of the city. People may be unaware that that sort of thing has been going on for a long time in some cities. So I just threw a few examples in here. So for example, in London, they've been doing this for a long time. So in 03, they have their congestion charge. And on top of paying a congestion charge, we seem to be missing something up on here. I'm not sure why, but anyway, there's a congestion charge which works out to, it's about $15 for the congestion charge if you want to drive into that area of the city. And on top of that, if your vehicle is an ultra low emission vehicle, you have to pay another amount there, as you can see, in euros. I'm surprised that we don't have that number up there, but that's okay. But it works out to approximately $15 Canadian to drive into that area. If we go into the next slide, there we go. New York City, it's in the news right now. They are planning a congestion charge fee of $9, and Mrs. Kathy Hochul is her name, the governor. Bless her soul, she's saying, hey, I'm giving you a 40% reduction because it was supposed to be $15, but it's going to go down to $9. So President Trump right now is fighting back on that and saying they can't do it. And of course in Oxford as well. So my apologies that I don't have it up here right in front of me right now, but it's on page 35 of our document that the city wants to do this. And also Oxford's been doing it for a while. And I put it in red here, that they plan to impose fines on motorists rather than staying in their zones. And after 2025, the rates will double. And so there's a great topic on 50-minute cities too, and talking about, when we condense, does that help the traffic situation or make it worse? And so Mr. Robert Lyman has a great article on 15-minute cities, if you'd like to look at that. Really great food for thought. Sliding over to the next slide. People are fighting back. So these are some people in London who are fighting back on the ultra low emission zone. And next slide. So one thing I really wanted to point out, interesting, we seem to be missing some things, but that's okay. There we go. I didn't plan that. These plans have been in the place for quite some time that the city is working towards. So again, in this document, I just highlighted some of the things that they talk about achieving, complete streets, complete communities. Those are other words for densification. And within this transportation plan, here is an example that they give. And if we hit the space bar, next slide. And if we hit the space bar, okay. So does that look a little bit familiar to people? Some of the streets and things that are happening here within the city. So again, in our document on low carbon neighborhoods, they talk about not having vehicles, that put out emissions, in increasing transportation via train, and you can see here that they're going up, making it harder to drive and harder to park. So next slide. Again, this was from 2019, and they talk here as well. These savings were due to the reduced amount of linear and spatial infrastructure that would be required from a smaller city footprint. So they're talking about this for quite a while. And I'm going to hit that space bar. There we go. Yes, this established communities. So this is going back now, talking about the rezoning. They had this in mind for quite some time in order to densify the city. And so it's actually right there within their document. And again, next slide. I just grabbed a screen grab, compact city. This is what they want, again. And next slide. Here. And sometimes, I just left this one in here. Sometimes it's just so obvious, and they hear when they're talking about the waste reduction, and they say right here, that it needs to align with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals and the development of a Calgary consumption-based GHG inventory. So it's right there. And that was one time when it popped up, something that I actually wanted to see. I grabbed a screen grab. Next slide. Okay, so if you go onto the United Nations website and you go and check out the goal number 11, you can click and you can see what some of the indicators are. Like, how are they going to achieve this, what they want to? What would be an indicator that you're, achieving these goals? So the ratio of land consumption to population growth is a big one. And the next one, proportion of cities with a direct participation structure of civil society in urban planning and management. I thought that was really funny, that operate regularly and democratically. Didn't appear to be too democratic to me once we all got to go and have our say, right? The numbers didn't go the way that they looked, right? Nope, they just decided to do what they wanted to do. And here, so I wanted to point out to you, this is in their Making Life Better for Calgary and State of the City plan. So I hope it's big enough to see. So they actually go in and they talk about and show, so let's just look at urban expansion. So how much is the city going to grow? So within their boundary area, right? So they have a boundary in mind for the city. And so their 60-year target, 50% of the growth they want to stay within the boundary. And, but what's the forecast? How's it looking? Well, it's only looking like by 2076, they're only going to get to 23%. So they're not happy with that, right? But how would you achieve 50% growth without expanding? Right? There's only one way, right? To densify, right? So this is right within their local planning, and then there's much, much more to look at, which I won't put you through. Oh yes, and I thought this was very interesting. They want people to be very close to transit, right? So then people don't have to drive as much. So if you look at what they have here, they would like, their target would be 45% of the population to be within 400 meters, okay? But they're saying by their 60-year target, I think they are in 50 to 60 years, the population is going to be around 2 million. So they want almost half the people to be able to be within 400 meters of a primary transit network. Well, wow, that's almost the whole population now, right? So how are they going to achieve that? Right? Densify. So there's a lot there to look at. And I think that we'll pop over, you can go to the next slide and the next one. So these are some of their goals. And the next one. So maybe we'll close with this. We're just about there, folks. So I did a freedom of information just to see what I could find out. And I didn't get what I wanted in my request, but I did find out a little bit about the climate. You can see by the red arrow. And if we go to the next slide, that's expanded about the climate. So in this, we find out that they actually have 19 staff to deal with the climate emergency. We don't know if those are new staff though. And if we add up the numbers, and I actually just, you can see there that they have 1.2 million for hailstorm tree replacement. I gave that to them, like, okay, that's probably an important thing to have. But so I added up the rest of the numbers so that we could see what we were spending. And it's quite something, isn't it? The amount of money that's being spent. If we go to the next slide. For our part, which is very small in the world. So Robert Lyman has another great quote. He said, "The climate campaign, while supported by the media and most politicians, is little more than costly and pointless virtue signaling. It certainly does not justify granting urban planners control over where people can live and how they should move within urban areas." So some concluding words for you, and I won't, if we go to the next slide, I won't take up too much of your time to read to that, all of that to you. But if we go to the next slide, what can we do? What you're doing tonight. You're doing an awesome, wonderful job of being here, educating yourself on what's happening within the City of Calgary. I'm disappointed in myself that we didn't have that document up, but maybe we can do that maybe we can pull it up when we're doing questions, so I can just show people where to find it and some of the key points that are really essential. Share your voice. Your silence is your agreement. And those really loud vocal ones, right? That's just it. They're a small group, but they're loud. So we need to be feeling, I hope now, and more empowered to speak out and share what we know about what's happening within the city, and get active, like you are tonight. Action4Canada has a great campaigns. We'd love to have people come on board for that. Just check out our website. The upcoming elections is a big one. We plan to help people come up with what to say at the open houses, talk about specifically about this topic, but we do have other topics as well, to empower people to go to the open houses, to question the leaders that are coming forward that want to be a part of City Council. And we also have business packages for delivery. We think it's really important that the businesses be empowered and realize some of these things that the city is looking at doing, which at the moment you think maybe might not be much because I don't have that page to show you from the document, but maybe we'll pull it up. But for example, if the city is saying, you know what, we don't want people driving. We want this low emission zone. We don't want people driving in and out of it. So how's that going to affect a business, right? It's going to really, really hurt the business. And so we've put together packages to show the businesses. And we have what we call notices of liability. So we've served City Council those notices talking about the climate plan that they have going on. And we've also served, the City of Calgary has many, many committees. I think they have over 100 different committees. It's unreal. And they have a climate advisory committee. And so we've served them a notice of liability as well. And I won't talk too much about the notices of liability, but people tend to be a little bit nervous about those notice of liability. They think, well, maybe does that mean somehow that I'm telling them that, I'm going to do something like legally with them? And essentially, no, what you're saying is, now you know what we know, so you can't say you didn't know, right? So it's basically explaining, what's happening with the green agenda, and that we see it as untruths that are going on. And so now you can't say, well, I didn't know that. Well, now you know because we've given you the liability. And again, one of the goals for Action4Canada, and I'm guessing here with KEG as well, is to get involved with your various communities, right? It starts at the local level, and that's what we need people to come back to. Very, very important. And yes, and we also have our weekly meetings as well. We have a national one that happens every week. So, and other ways to get involved as well. So thank you very, very much for your time. If we go to the next slide, I think that the city needs to focus on this, right? Absolutely. And if we go to the next slide, then there we go. Thank you everyone so much for coming out and taking part in some of this on Eye on Calgary. And I think we might move to questions now, if there are any.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that you shared a lot, and it's interesting that I look back at 1991, 92, and what I remember before was in Calgary, I always thought it was the loudest bicyclist that got the bike lanes going. But now I'm going click, click, click. It all ties into the way of restricting the number of vehicles that can go into certain areas and how it ties into the UN plans. So while they're doing this, I'm wondering if anybody here has a question or concern or a comment that they would like to share. Okay.
In regards to Calgary, they will be in Edmonton on March the 16th at the Badwind Center. If you want to know what's going on, let me know. I can get you in touch base with those guys. Also, I was in Calgary last month. Maggie was at the banquet on the north side. She was there. I recorded it, so I have the full video of her speech over there. So if you want to see that, it's on my Rumble channel as well. So if you want to know some more information about it, just touch base with me. So March 16, she will be in Margate. She will be in at the Badwind Center in Edmonton. I think it's a Saturday, I believe. More information, I have it on hand here as well too.
And if I could add to that, I know Maggie Braun, she does really fantastic work, and she pretty much has, if you go to her website, it's pretty much turnkey, ready to go for people to bring to their town council, city council. It's there, ready to go. If you know that your local government is associated with ICLEI, which a lot are, the one thing that I will say is that it's turnkey, and it's quite general, which is nothing wrong with that. It's very general, so it doesn't get into the specifics that might be happening right within your town, for example. But it's a great, great tool and a great place to get started.
In regards to Calgary, just for example, in that specific meeting we have on January, we're talking about that a lot of those cities like Calgary, Edmonton, Montreal, or what have you, are basically tied up with the FCM, the Canadian Federation of Municipalities. So one of the critiques about that specific organism is that the rural communities, like in this case, to give the example for Stadler got out of the FCM under the premise that what the FCM was advocating was too much focus on the cities and not really focus on rural communities like Stadler. So they got out of the FCM, and FCM are pushing a lot of the DEI, this kind of stuff that you saw here in this slide. So what people need to know is that people need to get involved locally. You can sit as a councillor and at the local community, and then you can push forward at the city level as well too. So that's another strategy.
I was going to say yes, because the whole DEI, that's a whole nother area, right? Yeah, 100%, 100%.
Great presentation. I do want to point out a couple of resolutions that were passed at the UCP AGM that are relevant to this this matter. This is number 10. The UCP believes that the government of Alberta should prohibit any provincial or municipal entity under Alberta government jurisdiction from entering, amending, extending, or renewing an intergovernmental agreement with the Government of Canada or non-governmental organizations and other international interests unless prior approval has been obtained from the province. An intergovernmental agreement entered, amended, extended, or renewed by a province or municipal entity without prior approval of the Alberta government shall have no effect. That's number 10, and number 6 is similar. The UCP government shall maintain and defend its constitutionally mandated jurisdictional authority over all decisions affecting Albertans regarding provincial, national, or international emergencies, treaties, or other agreements. That includes, but is not limited to, medical, financial, economic, security, natural resources, education, safety, and social issues and circumstances. Provincial authority may include a variety of communications, actions, responses, treatments, procedures, rules, regulations, fees, taxes, policies, procedures, protocols, legislation, or mandates of any kind. So anyway, there is some pushback, but
Yes.
we need more.
Well, I was going to say, what a premier we have, right? What wonderful people we have who are telling the premier what we want to see happen. So I will point out, if you remember in the presentation, and I said, oh, the website is quite impressive. Remember that? It was where you could go and search up Calgary or any city, and you could also search up business. Well, the province of Alberta is also in there. And it may be before our premier came to power that they did get involved, but you click and you click, and it will take you to the Government of Alberta website. So if you're wondering, maybe just tuck it in your back pocket, you know, because our premier still does talk about carbon capture, right? And she does talk about, you know, reducing that. What it looks like from this research that I did, they're reporting it. They're reporting the emissions. So it's there. It may have been something that started before the premier came to power, but it's there. And so maybe you're like me, and I think, well, why are we still talking about this carbon capture thing, right? Because we all know that CO2 is important for life. It's not detrimental, and yet the carbon capture thing is still happening. So again, just something to think about, because one of the things about this reporting, and I am not educated enough, Michelle Sterling with Friends of Science Society has done excellent videos, and she digs a little bit deeper and talks about this reporting has to do with how much companies might want to work with you if your emissions are too high. So it's all this data. So you have to meet certain levels, or else maybe we're not going to attract the business. Right? So it's there, and I think we need to hold our premier to that just what you said, not to be a part of those entities, 100%. But it is there.
Yeah, the Canadian Federation of Municipalities.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So yes. So the reporting is there. Mm-hmm.
Good evening, and thank you for your presentation tonight. I'm Leslie from Act Now. We have a group here in Calgary, and what a lot of people don't know, we do actually have a climate emergency, but it's the opposite of what you think. We have CO2 levels of about 0.4% right now. If it ends up being 0.2, we will all be dead. So I need you to understand that is very important, that we need to have CO2. It's what makes everything green in this world. The other point I want to make is that we have a group called A Better Calgary here in A Better Calgary ABC group, and they are putting forth people to fight against City Council in the next election. So please find out who in your jurisdiction or neighborhood is running with the ABC group, because they're the people you want on your City Council next October. Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. And along those same lines, I'm going to put a plug in. I don't get any money for it or anything like that, but to empower the people, Friends of Science Society, they're located right here in Calgary, and they just published this book. It's awesome. Facts on 22 prominent climate topics. So yeah, so it's talking about how the world's actually greened, right? There's one example within the book. So they're bite-sized bits of information that are easily digestible that help to empower you, the people. So you can get this from their website, and it just came out. They're actually having a book launch. I mean, I ordered it from their website, but they're going to have a launch with some of the authors that are in it, I think on March 11th. So you can go to their website and find out a little bit more. Sorry, I think someone's over here.
I'm not an expert in this at all, but I see this climate emergency talk as part of the globalist plan. And Prince Charles, I refuse to call him anything but that because he's a long-standing involvement in this, among other things that I'm against him for. But I can agree with what was said here. I think carbon dioxide is green. The more carbon dioxide, the more plants grow, and agriculture and all the rest of it. So I do believe that this man-made global warming is a complete lie. I know there's a lot of scientists that are on the other side against it. But there's two little questions, and one connects with what was said there too. First of all, you mentioned 1.5 is mentioned everywhere, and so I have a scientific question is, what is that? Who measures it, and how reliable is all that? I don't know if that's something you can respond to. And then I'm getting wind that there's 2 or 3 political parties going to be allowed to run for our next municipal election. And where do we start with that? How do we get, like, I'm ready to get involved there. And I want to know, is it ABC? I don't know the names of them all at all. Can you talk a little more, or anyone talk a little
I know
more
that there's
about
quite a few people in this room who are quite involved with the different parties. Okay, all right. So this gentleman here is signing up. Is it for ABC?
Yeah.
Okay, wonderful. And you're right, when you talk about the CO2, greenhouses will actually pump CO2 into the greenhouse.
Yeah.
I have a friend right now, she's growing, it's nothing illegal, anything like that, but she grows plants in her basement and she has her own little setup, and yeah, she's pumping CO2 in to help them to grow, yeah, 100%. Melody?
You mentioned smart technology is very active in our city. Could you give us some examples, please?
Yes, I can. And this is why one of the videos of mine got a little bit long on the website, is because I wanted to show the smart technologies. And as far as I could tell, when I went in and clicked around a little bit, probably from the articles that popped up were from around 2017, those articles, but on the very last video I talk about it. So I actually we could almost bring it up, but for example, golf, anyone? So they talk about Shaganappy Golf Course. They have videos of it, right, on the Calgary website, and talking about the awards they received. And so they show, like, have you ever wondered maybe why the golf, who's the head fellow? He'll come up to you and say, oh, you're going too slow. Marshall, right? You ever figure out, well, why, how do they know that? Well, anyway, so in this video, they show on the Shaganappy Golf Course, they lift up the seats and say, we have this technology here that we can connect and can see exactly what you're doing, or time-wise, why your golf cart, where it's at, and the time it's taking you to go around the course. So that's one example that they have there. Another one that they have is for noise reduction. So anybody in Mr. Pootman's Ward 6, he'd sent out that they were doing some listening for noise. They wanted to know about how noisy areas were, so they'd be using technology for that. So on the website, again, it shows that they use on the Internet of Things low-RAN technology, and they show how they show the device actually, and if the construction is too loud or something like that, they want to monitor. If the traffic's too loud, they want to monitor that. Yep, they've been using it for years and years. Yes, and they have many other videos on there about where they're using this technology, the Internet of Things, yeah, and how Calgary is a connected city. And I wasn't sure how quickly people wanted to get out of here, but one of the items that I had wanted to just mention is that we have to be so careful with technology, right? Because how many of us get grumpy when the internet won't work, right? Or want to search something up and the internet's down, right? Well, those are all the modern conveniences. So I think that we just have to be cautious that, technology It's not necessarily a bad thing, but with much power comes much responsibility, right? So it has to be used in the right way, not to monitor the people in order perhaps to keep them in an area, or that their, the thermostat isn't set too high, right? Or they're only allotted a certain amount of carbon credits, using that technology. And if you spend them all, well, too bad. You don't get to buy meat because you've eaten too much that week, or something like that. Oh, sorry?
Okay. I just have a comment. I notice what is happening in my community. I live in Guadalupe community, and I notice they are changing the like my community majority is single house, but they are allowing knocking down a single house at a corner and turn it into a 8-unit townhouse. And also they are making the street like walkable, so like a walking street. And also they are making plans, say, okay, so this community, it will have like the gym, it will have the sport facility, so it's always in your walking distance. And I didn't know, I know Edmonton is a smart city, but I didn't know about the Calgary. But I feel this kind of thing is towards that direction.
Yes. Everything that you see happening in terms of the big condo buildings and then at the base, right, all the different amenities, that's making it really convenient for you, so you don't have to drive anywhere. And have you noticed how difficult it is to drive down some streets because they're so narrow, right? And in the documents that I kind of skimmed through there, but they're saying parking lots are bad because that just encourages people to drive, and we're not achieving our goals. 100%. That is all part of the plan, so that people are encouraged to stay in their area. And I mean, let's face it, it is convenient, right? It is nice. If that's what you want, nothing wrong with that. But let the people decide, right? If a certain part of the city, we're like, okay, let's call it everything close to you zone. If you want to move to there, right? Let's build that zone. And if people want to move, let the free market decide, right? If that's where people want to go, they'll move there, right? 100%. But yeah, and it was in their plans long ago, long before the new housing strategy, saying that we need to take the existing houses that are there and convert them. Exactly what you're talking about. And it was there a long time ago because there's less greenhouse gas emissions. And one thing with that's in the plans too, this is just one page of them here, is that look out cement, because cement is next. Because cement lets off way too many emissions. So they want to see, believe it or not, more wood used. Which makes no sense to me if you're concerned about the environment, right? And trees. But yes, cement, that's the next one too. And C40 talks about that a lot. So yeah, everything that you're seeing, just squeezing you out, let's just make it more inconvenient for people to drive. Okay? It's by design.
Yeah, me, the thing I find so strange, like you said, Canada is responsible for 1.5% of global emission. So what is Calgary's footprint? Like
Exactly.
0.001% or something?
Exactly.
We have, 19 full-time staff, over $8 million. We got our taxes that keeps going up every year. So we're spending millions, and probably they're going to be, focusing on billions even, because millions today is worth nothing now. It's billions now. But when you look at it is so out there. When people look at all that effort, because we might be producing 0.001%. I mean, no one talks common sense to all these people. And to me, the solution is simple. If Better Calgary comes in, fire everybody there. Every document, burn them. Just like they did with the Avro. Just burn everything, so nothing. So if anyone wants to rebuild it, they'll have to start from scratch. That's what I think.
Yeah. Yes. I agree with you, right? There's so much money being spent, 100%.
So I'm just wondering if in the next election we get rid of this council. What happens then? Can we stop this?
Yes,
Okay.
of course.
Okay.
Yes,
I
100%.
just- Yeah, okay, awesome.
Yes, we need some, we need some counselors. I know there's a few that are on the side of common sense, right? And the numbers are going down, right? Some of the ones who are saying they're not coming back to be reelected. Yeah.
So tying in with that, with city council ignoring the public response to the zoning. So what's happening with the recall stuff? Because it is such outrageous that they can't listen to us, they won't listen to us. My council person will not respond to me.
100%.
So is there any legal stuff that someone's moving forward to hold them accountable?
Well, that is what our notice of liabilities are all about. Basically, saying we know what you're doing and we would really like you to stop. And that's on our website, and I'm happy. Actually, you can just go on and find it. We have 15-minute cities there, and we have notice of liability. But I tell you what, a couple things. They have 100% lost the whole heart of what it means to be a counselor and serve the people, right? 100% they've lost that. And now we know what's good for you. That's the way they act, right? No, right, with the rezoning, we saw that. We saw the numbers that came out, and they still did what they wanted to do. And I know this for a fact because I actually went to one of the meetings that they had at City Council, and I was there when Councillor Chabot spoke. There was some rezoning going on there. They're talking about rezoning, and it was in, I think it was a West Hillhurst. There's a hill. And they were wondering if they should be doing this or moving forward, right? And Councillor Chabot had actually been hit on a bike in that area. And it's so very busy. There's the hill and everything like that. And the councillor actually said to him, and I wrote it down because I wanted to make sure that I got everybody's names right. Yeah. So it was a safety thing, and it was Councillor Cara. He said, I understand that the surrounding community has some issues with it, with this rezoning, but I frankly reject the notion that safety issues are a driving concern here. This is a question about housing and housing policy, and for all the reasons we support projects like this all over the place, I am very supportive of this one. So we're talking about the danger. It's so busy, it's a hill, someone's been hit on a bike there. Like, we need to just step back, let's just study this a little bit more. Nope, safety, no, we don't want to take that into consideration. And Councillor Penner, at the same time, said, I am not sure that we should be talking ourselves out of our goals as a city. And so to try and talk ourselves and find ourselves ways out of it, I'm not sure I'm highly supportive of those kinds of questions that sort of lead to debate. Quote, unquote. I was there, I went back and found that video because I want to get this. Yes, another question in the back?
Yeah, could you just go into what you asked about the zero carbon neighborhoods?
Yes.
I'm really interested in that.
Yes, and I'm so sorry to keep everybody long, but this won't take long. This was the heart of it. So again, everybody can go and find this themselves. It's page 35, and I highlighted a bunch of items in there that popped out to me the first go round. And it talks about the themes in the black there, and then you see the bottom line, zero emission city design. Transform land use planning to prioritize zero emission city design. So it's right in there. Can we flip to the next page? Are you able to do that? Are you comfortable? You know? No?
Action.
Awesome. Our tech fella is a genius. So thank you so much. I usually have my computer right here and then I just have things that I can pull up. So let's go to the next page. So it'd be 36, that's 34. It's okay, no worries. So down to 35 on the side. One more. So that's where we were. One more. And what? Okay, so we'll go to the next one. There we go. Okay, perfect. And don't worry, I'll help guide you through all this. Okay, and so again, I just went through and highlighted some of the things that really popped to me. So, oh, awesome. I've never had it so big. So, if you look to there's other things, but F 3.1, require that all new residential builds be built to an EV-ready standard. So that was one item way back when I was looking through this. And then F 4.1, establish zero-emission transportation zones. So that's what I showed you with London, Oxford, New York has just implemented it. So that is in their plans. Now you can see, now this is from 2022 when it came out. They have not started, is what they said. But I have not seen an update on this. So it is in their plans. So you can feel confident to say, hey, this is what they're looking at. This is what they want to do. And it comes from the United Nations wanting to reduce, I call them ICE vehicles, but ones that drive on gas or diesel. And again, they want to put in like the green line to aid with that as well. Okay, let's go to the next page, which would be 37. Work with the province. So I will tell you, province is mentioned quite a bit in this document. Okay. Work with the province to implement road pricing tools that address the direct user pay cost of travel, responding to time, location, type of vehicle, and even the level of congestion present along the route. So very much connected. So it's right there. And we've seen it happening around the world. Again, they say not started. And you can see there about the chargers, of course. Let's go to the next one, 38. Okay, here's mode shift, program pathway G. Again, many things probably stand out, but develop a travel demand management strategy to support increased use of ride sharing, carpooling, and working from home. And let's go to the next one. Expand investment in primary transit network service provision. Right, and again, there's nothing necessarily wrong with that, right? To have a transportation system around the city that makes it easy for people to get around. They don't have a vehicle by choice, they don't have a vehicle. But identify opportunities to repurpose existing vehicle travel lanes. So have you seen that? Right? The travel lanes are kind of squeezed out, they're made smaller, the sidewalks are made bigger, there's a bike lane, right? It's really hard to drive down. And update policies and complete street design guidelines to prioritize active mobility, transit, green infrastructures, and traffic safety. Well, doesn't that all sound really lovely? But complete streets have to do with the densification. A complete street is having the storefronts at the base of the buildings. And invest additional pricing structure, road tolls, parking fees to shift demand to low carbon modes. Next, page 40. Okay, so this is the big one at the time when we were doing the rezoning topic that really popped. And again, the local area plans here in Calgary, I think a lot of people are familiar with the LAPs, they're called, local area plans. I wasn't necessarily, but I've spoken with people about them, and these must align with the climate strategy. Up above, this caught my attention, and so I double highlighted and all of it because it's in yellow, but in the orange. Our communities will transition to compact, mixed-use neighborhoods with abundant natural infrastructure and where transit and active modes of transportation, walking, biking, etc. So it's saying our communities will transition to compact mixed-use neighborhoods. Saying it right there when you talk about densification. And as another part of my freedom of information, I did receive a letter that Gondek had sent to the federal government requesting the housing money. So she knew about that housing money long ago. And that came with stipulation, right? That you rezone in order to get that money, right? Yes, and land use planning is a key function of municipal governments, and the City of Calgary has significant authority to influence the type and quality of the urban form in Calgary. Okay, let's go to the next one. Ooh. That's okay. I put him on the spot here. He's doing awesome. Okay, and again, many things in here, but development and implement net zero emissions and climate resilient designs, guidelines for both new and established communities. So for people who are looking to build, you're going to have to meet a certain standard, like a green standard is what they want. Again, transit services, prioritize transit-oriented development in all phases. Again, so that, having that green line come in is going to be really important. Mitigation, adaptation pops in there. Next one. Okay, and you can see I have it in red too. Incentivize and prioritize energy efficient development in all areas through the land use bylaw rules and policy directions. And through the land use bylaw updates, enable increased housing types. So there's those housing types we talked about. And support uses in residential areas to facilitate complete communities and reduce dependency on private vehicles. And the next one, consider viable options for removing and reducing motor vehicle parking minimums in residential areas. So you've seen how hard it is to park sometimes? It's on purpose, right? It's by design. It's all right there. So again, this is documents from 2022. Where are they now? That's the end of that area that I wanted to show everybody right in there. There's more, but that was the main one that they talked about in the housing plan, zero carbon neighborhoods. So that's it there, and you can go and find this document. All you have to do is go to the City of Calgary website. They have a search bar, type in 2050 document, and you can find it. And you can go and check it out for yourself and go through it. But that comes from page 35 there. So that's what I really, really wanted everybody to see. So everybody has been so wonderful to sit and be very patient. So thank you so very, very much. And thank you to our tech guru at the back for helping us get through this. I appreciate it so much. So are there any other questions? Oh, we got a couple actually. Thank you to everybody who has come out. If you need to get going, we understand. We've kept you for quite a while. So if you need to make your way out, absolutely.
I don't remember the name of this community, but I know someone who lives in the community just east of McLeod Trail and south of South Center Mall. They got the residents together. They all paid $300 to a lawyer so that their community would not be changed to that dynamic. Do you think that would hold up?
I would say that I'm not qualified to say whether it would or not, but I love that. I love that they've done this. Absolutely. And I'm not sure if that's... And it's everywhere, right? Because I know over in the area where I'm close to, which is over in West Springs, you might have all seen this. I think there's an email that went out that they wanted to, unbeknownst to most people, but you know how they do put up the sign that says, there's some changes coming? They wanted to go up to 30 stories instead of whatever they were. It was half of that, for sure. And I got an email. I'm not part of that group. It's just that I rent a hole sometimes in that area, and so I'm on their list. And they're trying to sneak in these things, right? The developers are, to increase the densification. But it is a concern, right? Because we did, it doesn't feel like it's very democratic, right? With everything that's been happening, having our, rezoning concerns and going and speaking, and still they just proceeded, which makes you wonder if, the money was already in the bank, kind of thing. Right. Sorry, was there another one?
How much of this information is on the website, the Action4Canada website?
So are you looking for the videos maybe?
What you've referred to?
Yes.
tonight?
So Action4Canada, they do have the website, but they also have a Rumble page, and that's where they put their videos. So I made videos, about 4 hours of them, and if you just go to Rumble and search up Action4Canada, you might have to scroll a little bit because there's quite a few videos on all kinds of topics, but that's where you would find it.
Okay.
Yes.
And then just quickly, there are a couple more UCP resolutions. This number 17 that was passed, requiring municipalities to hold a plebiscite vote for proposed land use changes that would significantly impact the entire municipality. And there is another one for abandoning the net zero targets as well, resolution 12.
100%. And in full disclosure, I'm a card-carrying member of the UCP, and I am on the board for Calgary Bow. Fantastic. There's nothing more exciting to me than seeing what was passed. Absolutely. And I think that's another really good thing for, me being part of the UCP has nothing to do with Action4Canada. But I will say that I often tell people who aren't involved in politics and don't realize. Prime example is I've had some friends, sort of friends of friends, and have some really mean, nasty things to say about Premier Smith. And I say to them, do you realize that Premier Smith is doing what the people want her to do? Right? It's not Premier Smith necessarily, because I do know for a fact there's some things that she wasn't on board with necessarily. But the people voted that way, and she's responding to what the people want. That's called democracy, right? 100%. So, I was so thrilled to see those things pass. 100%, absolutely. Yep. Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a wonderful way that we can close off this evening. And thank you again for your patience when we had a couple of technical issues, as well with the timing and everything.
The recording.
Pardon?
The recording.
Yeah, okay. That's okay. Yeah, we had issues with our Southside media to be able to record at the bin, but we will make sure that we get some type of recording out. And so before we say thank you to Renee, I'd love to say if you have a couple of minutes, maybe we can chat afterwards, or if there's anybody else. But we also want to be conscious of everybody's time. So maybe what we'll do is, if you can stay till another 10 minutes afterwards,
Of course I can.
that'll be
yes.
great.
And maybe I'll just put a quick plug, because people might want to just get out the door, is if anybody does have a business and they would like to know, I have one of these. It's free. It's for you. Just to know some things about what's happening in the world and how it might affect your business. So, yeah, I have a bunch. If you would like some, please come up and ask. No problem.
Okay. And I'd just like to, before we close off, I'd love to have Heather Panic come back up and just say a closing prayer for us.
Thanks so much, Renee, for your deep dive and all your hard work for Action4Canada to help educate us, because it's been awesome. Thank you. Thank you, Lord, for this time again tonight, Lord, and all that we've learned. We are so grateful for people and for Action4Canada, for Tanya, for her obedience and her vision and her passion for doing this and all the great work that Action4Canada does. We pray blessings on them and on Tanya and on Renee, Lord, and we just ask that you would continue to keep them bold and strong and courageous in standing for our freedoms. Yeah. So we, Lord, we want to never grow weary in doing good, for in due time we will reap what we sow, Lord, and we will be standing strong, and Lord, that you will bless them and bless us as we each look into our heart as to what our part will be in this. So I ask that blessing on the people that have come. Thank you for them, Lord, and bless them as they go home. In Jesus' name, amen.
And thank you for all coming out. and we're having a couple of scheduling conflicts, so I'll send out an email once I have the confirmed speaker for our next Cape, which is on March the 23rd. So safe travels to everybody on their way home, and thank you for being part of our community.
Thank you.